The rebuild has started, guys. An emergency podcast. May the 4th. Luis Arraez traded to the San Diego Padres for a couple of prospects and a reliever. Tons to get into in an emergency podcast version of Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England. Welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, of course, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. If you are listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. This is your team every day. And literally, thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's going to be a tough listen, perhaps. Nevertheless, the rebuild is rolling. Do not forget there is a YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel. It's called Locked On Marlins. Easy to find, easy to subscribe. And make sure you get in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this trade. This episode is brought to you by our good friends over at eBay Motors. And from brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Delighted to welcome onto the show Alex Trabase's Danny Alvarez. Danny, how we doing?
How you doing, Pete? Good morning over there in the UK. Look at you, man. Although, a big-time broadcaster and looking like a real TV and radio, like a real pro. So congrats on that, man.
Yeah, thanks to you, mate. And yeah, good morning, good night, whatever it might be here. Man, oh man, big news here. Arraez traded to the Padres seemingly a few minutes just before first pitch. I mean, we're going to talk about the timing more generally as we get into this and what this signals to us as the fan base and what the rest of the year could look like. But you have to feel for Arraez. He's effectively, in his gear, in the dugout, ready to rock and roll. And next thing is the news starts to trickle through. And, it's literally a hug watch happening in the dugout. I mean, you have to feel for the player, I think, even more so in that specific situation where you're in the dugout, ready to play, and you get the news. So your immediate reaction, though, Arraez traded to the Padres.
Yeah, I think this is something, Peter, that we were all expecting to happen. Yeah. What we never thought is that it was going to be this early in the season, like May 3rd, May 4th, May the 4th be with you with all the Star Wars gigs. But I mean, it's something that I saw it coming, just not this early. And yeah, it's always tough to watch a player of his caliber, not only on the baseball side, but on the personal side as well, go. You wish him the best. Obviously, you understand that this is business, and it's hard to see him in that situation minutes before starting a game. We saw it last year, not to that level, but was kind of something similar with Jean Segura and Garrett Cooper when they got traded, Gene to Cleveland and Coop to San Diego as well. And it's always difficult. It's always tricky for the manager, for the coaching staff to make those lineup changes, knowing that it's not at the moment, and at the moment we're recording this, it's not official yet, and that he's available, let's say, from the bench, but he's not playing, and just him seeing everything unfolding. I'm sure it was difficult and emotional. I know how much, and we'll know how much he wanted to stay here, because he said multiple times that he wanted to stay here. He loved the city, he loved the fans, he loved the atmosphere, even though Lone Depot Park has not been packed at all this year. He loved the fan base here, and he always kept telling, hey, believe in this group, believe in these guys, like we have a good team, we can make it, we can do it, and that he wanted to stay. I think that when he first played at Lone Depot last year in WBC, and he saw the atmosphere and how the stadium can be rocking every single night, really motivated him. And then they went on and had that great season where they made the playoffs, and that got him really motivated. So that's why he wanted to stay. He's Venezuelan. So there's a huge Venezuelan community down here in South Florida. It's closer to his family down there in Venezuela. They just have to take a plane to the DR or Panama, and then to make the connection, and then fly here. And obviously, I mean, where he lives in Miami, surrounded by many Venezuelans, so he's closer to his food, his music, his traditions, everything. Yep. So I mean, he had every positive and possible factor for a player to stay in a city. He had everything for him, but unfortunately, this is how baseball works.
I guess so. And he enters a situation where it's year 2 of ARB, a batting title again. So back-to-back batting titles. One with the Marlins. Clearly, they moved Pablo Lopez to get Luis Arraez into the organization.
Something that has never done before. To win back-to-back titles in different leagues. Yeah,
crazy. And so he delivers, right? The Marlins make that move. Pablo going to the Twins is a tough move for the fans, obviously, but maybe necessary considering the strengths the Marlins had at that point. But considering the contract position and the performance, the Marlins and Arraez seemingly never got around the table to consider what the future looks like, right? There was no future extension conversations, no nothing. Like the Marlins fan base is kind of calling it out last offseason. Are we going to extend Arraez? What's that looking like? But never anything happened there, right? So I guess the writing was always on the wall that the business side was going to kick in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. At least not with this administration. I mean, under Peter Bendix' new role as president of baseball operations, because I mean, before with Kim Ang, that was a possibility. They talked about it, but never got further because it was uncertain what was going to happen with Kim, right? Yeah. So that never got to a real deep conversation or something imminent because we didn't know and they didn't know what was going to happen. In fact, it was surprising to see Kim Ang go. We were all expecting her to be promoted to president of baseball operations. The Marlins went into another direction, and you see what ended up happening. And then they never approached Soler for a qualifying offer, for an extension to re-sign him. And they're both from the same agency, Arraez and Soler. So them not approaching Soler, it was a sign that, hey, maybe this is not going to happen with Luis either. And yes, I mean, it's not surprising because we see how the Rays operate and where Peter Bendix is coming from. And I think the message is clear, and it is that the Marlins will operate on a similar way. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, Peter Bendix was not on or has never. I don't think he has been on a good spot because it's been difficult to answer questions from the media and from the fans. I remember being at FanFest, and the fans were doing actually the hard-hitting questions. Like, I remember one fan saying, "I want to buy a jersey of a player that's gonna stay longer than 3 years here. Yeah. Like, is that possible?" And Bendix was like, "Yeah, we want to make that happen, but if the team's not willing to spend, and that's on Bruce and the higher end of the front office, then they have nothing to do, and it's not an easy job. It's a really tough spot for him to be at. But at the same time, fans want more clarity, man, on what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And when he said last week that he believes in the team that he has and the group that he has to turn it around because they have a track record of being really good and that they had the pieces to turn the corner, and this happens within a week.
Yeah,
it's not a good look. So yeah, no, that's really tough.
Agreed. I'm going to hit the first ad and then let's talk about the timing, because I think there's multiple factors to the timing aspect here. But that is, I think the biggest eyebrow raiser in some ways is just how early, and considering the backdrop of that presser last week, we'll also clearly we need to talk about the return as well and what this trade actually looks like, although it isn't official at this point, but we've got a good sense of what that looks like. Okay, before we do that, let's hit the first ad, let you know about our good friends, of course, over at eBay Motors. The producer's got the sexy graphics up, and passion, drive, and patience The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Of course, guys, you've got those superchargers and the roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, and Danny Alvarez from Alex Trabase. We are reacting to Luis Arraez being traded to the Padres. We will get into the return specifically very, very shortly. But, Danny, let's talk about the timing specifically and the fact that it is so early. And I think that the point you made, though, and the word you used was clarity. The fans seek clarity. And in many ways, without Peter Bendix saying anything, finally, May 3rd, 4th, the Marlins fans have clarity. Peter Bendix has said nothing, but his actions have given us clarity now. We now know. We know exactly what's cooking, finally. Many of us have predicted what was about to happen, but we finally now know. We can stop with the dialogue around one eye to the future, one eye to the present. The present is to effectively maximize all of the major league talent and turn it into prospects. That's the plan, right? There's no getting away from that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any other direction, right? I mean, this is what's going to happen. We have to take in consideration how many hires they've made for the front office, and especially for the developing part of the front office, right? The player development. And they're investing a lot in those hirings and the people they want to develop their players. That is something that the organization really needs, because we know they don't have a lot of depth in either the pitching side or the hitting side. It's being tested now with all the injuries and players coming up. Obviously, we saw good things from Roderick Munoz, for example, Anthony Maldonado coming out of the bullpen and making a spot start last week. So they're working a lot on that, and that's what we're gonna see right now. And the fact, Pete, that this happened so early also makes you expect trades to happen, soon. For sure. I mean, we can still have trades in May. We can still have trades in June and July. But the deadline, we don't know. Maybe the Marlins are going to be quiet because they already traded everyone. I mean, that can happen. There's something that Ken Rosenthal reported, and Craig and Barry wrote about it for the Herald. And is that the Marlins were actually pretty close to trade Arraez to San Diego before the start of the season. And also Luzardo was in those conversations as well. Like, they've been hearing about Luzardo and Luis for months now. I mean, this is not something that came up today or days ago. This has been cooking for months. The thing is that, of course, the Marlins rolled into the season with what they had, and to see what was going to happen, at least in the first month of the season. And they got off to a really, really bad start. And I guess they said, you know what, let's blow this up, because this. I mean, it's, and no team has overcome a deficit like this, and to make it back to the playoffs. And I guess that's why we all expected this to happen after that start. Or maybe even before the season, we said, if they're not competing in July, this might happen, and it was fair, but at least you wanted to. I mean, fans wanted to see at least a bit more of effort, and by effort I mean spending more than $5 million on Tim Anderson. Like, that's for sure. That's a good player to bet on. because of his track record and what he has done. But just to only spend that money on that player, letting a guy like Soler walk away or JD Martinez signing elsewhere, it was a sign that things were going to be difficult.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you make a really good point, and obviously, Ken's been on this one for a while, and they didn't make the moves in the offseason. Clearly, though, this conversation has been rumbling since the offseason, and I guess Peter Bendix has given it just over a month, and it feels to me like they've basically kind of walked back and gone, restart. And this has probably been sat on the shelf, maybe this trade, where it's like, we're going to maybe see how we go. And if things go sideways, then listen, we've kind of got a broad principle of a deal to work with here. And it kind of like, considering how early this is, it feels like this must be a spillover from the offseason in some ways, that maybe this conversation's just been ongoing. Padres checking in. Just on the Padres side, by the way, I'm really interested to see the way this works, considering the roster they already have, and where Arraez fits into this.
It's gonna be really interesting, Pete, with him possibly playing first base and being at DH.
Yeah, it looks could be, couldn't it?
Yeah, similar to what they were doing or they've been doing this year with Josh Bell, and they were planning to do that with Berger, also playing first base and DHing, because obviously they have Sander Bogaerts playing at second, Hassan Kim playing at short, Manny playing at third. Hassan Kim is a Gold Glover. Manny Machado is one of the best third basemen in baseball. Bogaerts is not having a great season, but he's a solid glove as well. So, maybe that's the option for Luis. And it's exciting for the Padres. When the trade was happening and everything was coming out, Machado homered, Cronenworth homered. I think like every single player on the Padres homered tonight. So it was like, they're excited now.
They're ready to go.
Tatis homered. They're ready to go, man. Now, he's such a dynamic player, and he can get on base a lot. He's gonna get a lot of hits, and now he has more protection on the lineup. I don't think he ever had pressure here, but I know he wanted to. Luis is a player that he's willing to give up. To do anything, whatever he can to help the team, and sometimes he tries to do too much. And it was kind of frustrating because you're from the press box sometimes watching the games, you're like, you don't have to hit that ball in the air. Like, go get your line drives or go get your slap hits and let the guys do the job. Now he's going to be able to do that in San Diego, and he has Machado, Tatis, Kim, Cronenworth, all those guys behind him that are going to drive him in. So this is a really good pickup for the Padres.
Yeah, for sure.
And they have a year and 5 months of control of Arraez.
Yeah, that's the beauty for the Padres. Like, that's kind of why I like it for them. Is you've got a trade that's maybe kind of spilled over, but for them, they pull the trigger early. Why not? Like, why wait until the deadline? Let another 2 months pass, right? Like,
correct.
If you love the guy, you love and how can you not? Go and get the guy. So well done to the Padres for pulling the trigger. I like it. Let's talk about at the moment the unofficial return, let's say, coming back here, and this is kind of what you expect to see, right? Some prospects and a reliever that hasn't actually pitched in the big leagues, I don't think, at this point yet. So, it's kind of the profile of players we'd expect, but really kind of built around Dillon Head, who was a first-round pick for the Padres last year. So, Dillon Head, Jakob Marsee, Nathan Martorella, and then Suk-Go, the reliever as well. So, boy, oh boy, a lot of names, many of which have some sexual connotations linked into them. So I don't know if Peter Bendix has got a profile on that one, but nevertheless, Dillon Head, Suk-Go, Jakob Marsee, and Nathan Martorella. Danny, your reaction on the actual projected return here for Arraez?
Yeah, no top 100 prospects. I know people wanted that for a double batting champion and a two-time All-Star.
Yeah.
But again, they're going to rely on their player development staff and their new player development staff. This is what they're relying on. And on the other hand, we've seen the Rays do trades out of nowhere with players that you are like, why? And then they turn them into great players, right?
Yep.
So Peter knows a thing or two about this, and again, he's relying on them. Dillon Head obviously is maybe the most intriguing one of this group. Also Suk-Go, because he came out of Korea. He was signed to a 2-year deal. So that's an interesting part as well to see how that goes, because if Go goes well, you get the trick there. If everything goes well with him, he might either be a solid reliever for the Marlins in the long term, because after that 2-year deals expires, they're still going to have years of control over Go. Yeah. But also, who knows? It can end up being another asset.
There you go.
So it's really interesting. It's funny. I don't know if you've seen the footage of, I think it was Jakob Marsee finding out from second base that he was getting traded.
I haven't seen it.
When you have time, go up and check it, because like 2 players of the trade realized they were getting traded during their game in the minor league, and one of them was in second base, and he was like, what the hell's going on? Like, why? Why did I do it wrong? It's like, no, you're being traded. So it's weird to have a hug watch on May, but anything can happen.
And that's probably what catches everyone off guard. It catches Arraez off guard. It catches all the guys involved who are like literally in the middle of games. And like May 3rd, 4th, depending on time zone, it just isn't the usual time where you're thinking of that outcome. If you're seeing them kind of pulling you, you're thinking, what have I done wrong? Have I given max effort or not, I guess? And, lo and behold, they get it, But I think the interesting part here is, the things that stuck out to me, 3 guys, all of them a decent amount away from the big leagues, but all 3, I would say, apart from obviously the reliever, hitters. And that's no surprise as well. And I think that's really interesting that you've added some offensive guys, 3 of them, into the system. And I think that's, a really interesting thing. And listen, for me, just on the prospect piece, I know everyone goes, well, there's no top 100 prospect for, 2-time batting champ. We've seen many a prospect ranking adjust over time and whatever. And, who's to say what this is? And I think that's the point you're making is like Peter Bendix, this is his specialism. And he knows plenty about scooping up dudes, developing, and next thing is they become studs. And I think at this point for Marlins fans, irrespective of what a ranking says and where someone is in a pipeline list, you just have to trust that Peter Bendix knows what he's doing at this point. Like, that's the point. We have to trust him at this point, which is tough.
And it is tough. And the toughest part, maybe this is not with Bendix, because, let's face it, when Kim got here and made some moves, some of those moves were unpopular. That's the truth. And it ended up, paying dividends to the Marlins last year when they made the playoffs, and then with other trades they made, but we didn't know at the moment. Like no one knows. So yes, when they hired more staff than players in the offseason, that was a sign that, hey, they're gonna rely heavy on this. Yeah, and let's see what they do. It's always, the first couple hours of a trade, it's always early to evaluate and say, hey, this is a win or a loss, because you never know what might happen. But at the moment, obviously, it's a tough pill to swallow, because even though it was only for a year, a season and a month, he was really close to the fan base here.
Oh, no doubt. And I think you've encapsulated that perfectly, where this is immediate reaction. We're only a few hours in. I've just woken up. You're still haven't gone to bed yet. We're all a bit jaded by this situation and surprised. And clearly the guys the Marlins have acquired are for the future. And so we won't be able to work out the win or loss situation for many years in this one. But to your point, Arraez was loved by the Marlins fans, by everyone. It's impossible not to love him. By Skip. Skip spoke about it as well, like straight away after the game. So it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for the fans. And the reality is, Arraez is just the first piece. And there's many other guys on this roster that the Marlins fans also like and enjoy watching. And the reality is, I think that the statement that I put out there is no one's safe. Maybe Yuri, but effectively beyond that. And even Yuri could be. I mean, who knows? But no one knows.
Who knows? I mean, he's been on trade talks. Max Meyer has been on trade talks. I mean, no one is safe. Like, if they find the right fit for Sandy. Sandy has a very team-friendly deal. And I mean, you're expecting he comes back stronger from Tommy John. And he's a workhorse, and he's a pitcher that it's rare to see in the big leagues right now. Someone that can give you a huge amount of quality innings, and that's Sandy. So with a team-friendly deal, he still being very young, I mean, why not? So don't be surprised.
Oh boy. I need to hit the ads, and then we're going to finish off with like what next, who next. But just on Sandy specifically, Danny, just let's play this forward a touch. Let's assume that they end up moving Sandy at some point this year, and there's no 100 prospects included in that package. I mean, could you imagine the reaction of the Marlins fan base then?
The only way I see that's happening is just if the Marlins send the whole contract to the other team, like it happened, like when it happened with Stan in 17. At the moment, it looked horrible because they were just trading the MVP and a guy that hit 59 homers weeks before, and they were like, but they got no prospects in return, but they got rid of $230 million, which is
that was a win.
Great. That was a win. I don't know how much the Marlins are or how much they could trade in terms of salary. But again, it's a real team-friendly deal. So that would be the only way I see them not getting a great prospect in return.
They do well not to get a big-time prospect for Sandy would be a very interesting. Like, people are losing their minds about Arraez at this point. It's like, I say losing their minds. I think that's unfair. Like, it's just the shock. It's the shock factor.
It's a shock, and I've read people liking the trade a lot.
Me too.
And that's fair. So let's see.
Yeah. All right. Final ads, and then we're going to come back and talk about what next, who next, maybe, because I think everyone is on the table. Before we do that, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, and it's America's #1 fantasy sports app and has more than 3 million members. Of course, it's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Just pick more or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in, baby. Spring training is certainly over and baseball season is officially underway. Even trade season is underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less than and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. And don't forget to get in on the playoff action. Win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Pretty simple what you got to do. You got to download the app, and the app is PrizePicks. You use the code LOCKEDONMLB. It's all lowercase. Gives you a first deposit match up to $100. Reminder, download PrizePicks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB. First deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This episode is also brought to you by our really good friends over at Monopoly Go. And game off, we've got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about it. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. So much to get into. Unique stickers you can trade. Interesting timing on that one. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. And hilarious emojis. Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play and App Store. Game on! All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, and Danny Alvarez, reacting to Luis Arraez being traded to the San Diego Padres. 3 prospects and a reliever back to the Marlins in this one. It is currently May the 4th. It is early, but Peter Bendix has signaled his intent at this point. No messing around now. No eye to the present and to the future. It is all systems go for the future. Danny, considering what Peter Bendix is now telling us by the moves he's making, what do we see happening next for this Marlins big league roster at this point?
More trades. I mean, that's what you can expect, right? There were conversations for Edward Cabrera. He was really close to being dealt to Pittsburgh. In fact, there was a pre-written story that got
wasn't it? Yeah. The presser was released.
Almost, but yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, so more trades, man.
Yeah.
There, in for those who saw the Friday night game against the A's, they really played hard. They were in it till the end, and especially Sanchi got an at bat in that ninth inning. He ended up being the last out, but he really fought that at bat against Lucas Arraez. So they're gonna fight. I mean, because that's what they've been doing. I know the results are not there, and that Sanchi had that episode on Monday where he got benched afterwards, but they've been playing hard, and they're just not gonna quit. It's tough to see a teammate like that go, but they know they gotta play hard, and they know because they're playing for the Marlins, but they're also being seen by 29 other teams, and that's the reality of it. So
yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
more trades.
More trades. Yeah, more trades to I mean, of more key players. No one's safe, and that's what we can expect.
Yeah, no doubt. Who's going to step up into? I mean, obviously they didn't make a roster move for Arraez because the deal wasn't finalized, I guess. So who's going to step up and kind of who's going to benefit from this from a playing time perspective in the short term? Do you think?
I mean, obviously you see with the infielders they have. I think Vidal Brujan is going to be playing a whole lot more.
He's on fire as well.
He's on fire. Yeah, he's a guy that you want to see playing a lot more because of what he's been doing and being able to play in multiple positions in the infield. So I guess Vidal would get a lot more time at second base.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? And fair play to Brujan. He started slow, very slow. It's fair to say him and Betancourt.
It took him weeks to get his first hit.
Yeah.
So
fair play. More trades to come. Let's say if you got to look at who's expiring contracts as well, right? You got to be looking at like a Tanner Scott, for example, thinking like, how many days has Tanner Scott got on this roster at this point?
I think that, and especially like the ERA has been high for a lot of relievers, but some of them have been extremely unlucky. And you can see it with the FIP and other metrics that show you that they've been really good. Tanner just had a really great week, and he pitched 3 days in a row, and it was huge for that Rocky series. Yeah. So Tanner is a guy that you would expect him to be traded soon. I would say Josh Bell, final year of his contract, he opted in for this year. I'm sure that's going to be really disappointing because he really wanted to stay and to win here. He could have gone to free agency and get a good contract, but he decided to stay here in Miami. He's someone that you would expect him to. Those are two names that I would expect the team to trade really soon.
I've got my eye specifically on, because of the history, the conversations during the offseason, I've got my eye specifically on Jesus Luzardo. I know he's coming back as well at the moment.
Absolutely.
Again, to your point, like you hear Eddie Cabrera was almost dealt. Luzardo, they were talking about the Padres and Orioles as well. So you've got to, this is the interesting part. The Marlins and Peter Bendix thought, okay, do you know what? I'm not going to blow it up this offseason. Politically, PR-wise, maybe that's not what I want to do, but I'm maybe going to have a few deals on the shelf ready to rock and roll if things start slow. Things have started slow. Maybe we're seeing these trades and packages being rolled off the shelf. So, listen, the Marlins could be bare by the end of June. To your point, there may not be anything to do at the deadline because they've already done it. But
exactly. So
it's going to be a fun few weeks.
It's going to be a fun few weeks. And one final one again on Luis Arraez is someone that when he came here, he was really excited. He was always there to do stuff in the community. I remember, I think it was like 2 weeks maybe a week and a half after the season ended in Philly. A rough ending at the CBP.
Yeah.
Him going out, visiting hospitals and doing stuff with kids. And then for Thanksgiving, he was handing out the turkey and all of that. He just, I think he just texted me.
It was breaking news.
Yeah, so yeah, I cannot share a text here, but I can share, that it's been really, really, a real pleasure to cover him. To cover him. This is a kid that I've been following for, I think, almost a decade since when he made his debut at a really young age in Venezuela. I think as a teenager with Magallanes. And for people to realize, Magallanes is like the Yankees, like the Red Sox, like the Dodgers, like a very, very popular team down there in Venezuela. And he showed no fear playing in a big stage in winter ball and winning a batting title down there. And we were like, this is a real deal, because he has no fear at a really young age. So it was really something really exciting to see, because you would ask him like, hey, how's your routine look like? And he's like, I wake up, I go to the batting cage at the facility, and I go hit. Then I come to the ballpark and I go and hit, and I hit and I hit. And the only thing he did was get hits. Yeah. And I would say this was game 2 of last year. It was the first regular season game of the Marlins that I covered, because I started the season in Tampa covering Miguel Cabrera, his final opening day. Yeah. So I drove down the next day. The next morning, I got to the stadium. Luis got like 2 or 3 hits, and I told him like, hey, you really got off to a really good start. And everyone's talking about your routine, like how's this like? And he's like, here's the deal. When I win the batting title this year, I want you and your mom doing a coverage of my offseason, my routine with Frank Valdez, his hitting coach, at the facility. And I only want you guys to be around for that. And I said, like, okay, like, you got it. And what really shocked me is that he's not that he said, if I win the batting title. No. Game 2, he said, when I win the batting title, you're going to do this. And I'm like,
love it.
Fair enough. I love it. And then he really won the whole thing. Yeah. In September, I was kind of nervous because Freddie was catching up and Acuna was catching up. And I told him, like, hey, I need to know what we're going to do if you, whenever you win it. And he's like, no, we're going to do it. We're really going to do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll follow you. And we're obviously, it ended up not being just one day of filming and seeing what he does. It turns out that we're filming a whole documentary on the thing, because he wanted to say a lot more things, and his family involved, teammates, coaches, everything. So now obviously this changes the script, the final part of the script. So I'm excited and looking forward to see how that turns out.
I'm sure everyone is, mate. It sounds like a glorious piece of content that we'll be excited to see, no doubt. That's all you. Whenever you see anything linked to Luis Arraez in an off season or when he's not actually on the baseball field, he's generally just hitting. That's all he does. I've never seen anything else.
Everything he does, hitting.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's something crazy. But I'll miss him. I'll definitely miss him, and
no doubt.
I wish him nothing but the best in San Diego. They just got a great one.
Yeah, absolutely. Good way to finish up. Danny Alvarez, thanks for joining Locked On Marlins on emergency podcast version. As we hit the end of this episode, it's 7:30 a.m. UK time. It means it's 2:30 a.m. where Danny is right now. And guys, whenever you get your episode, let me know your thoughts and comments in the YouTube comments. Let me know what you're thinking on this trade. It feels to me like the timing is early. The return looks interesting. The Marlins have lost a stud in Luis Arraez for the present, but Peter Bendix is showing us that this is now all about the future. And really, frankly, at this point, no one's safe. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you probably tomorrow. I feel like even though it's not normal for weekend episodes, I feel like there's maybe a few extra episodes to get out of this conversation. We'll look forward to seeing you then.